Machine Learning Made Easy, brought to you by Velocian and Tian. John and Brenda are a newly married couple. They have decided to purchase this lovely home and meet with the real estate agent to finalize the purchase price. Upon agreeing to the terms, the real estate agent requests that the couple speak to their bank to secure a home loan. John and Brenda are super excited. The couple make their way to the bank to apply for a home loan. They're so excited and have decided to complete the application forms in advance. Brenda tells her husband that they should get the approval immediately. They hand over the documents to the banker, and she says, "We will review your application and get back to you within a few days." Brenda's happy face becomes a sad one. She was hoping to get an answer so she could start shopping around for furniture. The couple wish it was possible to get an answer immediately. Using machine learning, it is possible to create an automated scoring model to assist bankers with approving or rejecting a home loan immediately. Now, we know machine learning is a concept that has been talked about frequently. Most people have been scared away by myths that you need a PhD or you need to be a math guru. While having a strong mathematical foundation is beneficial, you are still able to get up and running by building your own machine learning models with a little bit of work and a sprinkle of passion. So this is what we're going to do in the demo. We're going to get some data. We're going to clean that data. We're then going to split it. Then move on to applying the model, train and test, and lastly, we're going to view our output. Hi guys, so welcome to the demo. So as mentioned in this demo, we're going to be using a fictitious data set on loan data. And this is our Azure ML workspace. I'm using the Azure ML classic version. It's a free tier workspace that we can use to build our machine learning models. So let's get straight into it. And the first step is to import our data set. So I'm going to go navigate on the left to our data sets. And then at the bottom left, I'm going to click on new. I have, as I mentioned, a fictitious loan sample data set. So I'm just going to import it. Click on OK. It should take a few seconds to load. It's busy uploading, as we can see at the bottom. Okay, fantastic. So it has already loaded our data set into Azure ML. The next thing what we're going to have to do is go to experiments and create a new experiment, right? So I'm going to click on new once again. I'm going to click on blank experiment. All right, we can give it a name. Let's just call it loan ML model. Fantastic, cool. So there's a pane on your left-hand side. And once I expand the saved data sets, I can go into either sample or my data sets. I've uploaded my loan approval data, so I'm going to pull that in. And this is our first step. So let's visualize our data, because as I mentioned in the video, that we're going to have to get our data, clean our data, split it, etc. So let's have a look at what we have. So if I right click and I go to dataset and click on visualize, we can have a look at our information. So we have 614 columns, 614 rows and 13 columns. And within this data set, there's various information. So for example, gender, dependence, education, and the two most important categories that we're going to be looking at. Well, actually the most important category that we're going to be looking at is the loan status. So we want to be able to see if the loan is approved, yes or no, right? So yeah. But as I mentioned, that we're going to have to do some cleaning of our data. No data set, or very few data sets that are imported or used within machine learning comes in a very clean state. So let's have a look at that. If I click on gender, you can see there's two unique values, male or female, and then there's 13 missing values. So basically what that means is that there's maybe blank columns, and visually looking at this in a graphical representation, you can see there's male, female, and then there's null values. And there's a couple other columns that have missing values as well. So let's just maybe skim through it so I can give you a look and feel of what's going on. So married, there's missing values, there's 3 missing values. Dependents, there are some there. Education, okay, that's fine. Self-employed, 32 missing values. Okay, these are just the numerical values. So applicant income, loan amount. Loan amount, there's 22 missing values. Loan term, there's 14. Credit history, 50. Property area type, which is fine. And then the loan status type, which is fine. So what we're going to do is we're going to clean our data in 2 steps. We're going to first look at the string values, and then we're going to look at the numerical values. Now, just quick note, credit history, we're gonna group this under the string values because it looks like it's a categorical information type. So we're going to just group that under the string value. So let's go ahead and let me show you exactly how we're gonna do this, right? So the first thing what we're going to do is we're gonna search for something called clean missing data. As you start typing, you can see it'll start filtering down. There we go, manipulation. And we're going to connect our data set to our clean missing data type. So cool. Once we do that, we click on clean missing data, and on the right hand side, we're going to look at the columns that we want to clean, right? So it selected all of them, but we only want gender, married, what was it? Gender, married, dependents, self-employed, and we said we're going to put in the credit history over there as well. Okay, cool. So we've selected our columns and we added them in there. Cool. So now that we've done that, what are we going to replace the missing values with, right? So we'll explain these two in a different session, but just to get us up and running to show you how simple and easy machine learning works with drag and drop functionality, I'm just going to do the basics. We're going to look at this cleaning mode. So under cleaning mode, we have different options, and the one that we're going to choose is replace with mode. Mode basically means it's the most, the highest reusable term that has been, well, the term that has been used the most, or the field that has been used the most within your data set. For example, if male was used more than female, or female was used more than male, then what it'll do is wherever there was a blank value, it'll replace it with either female or male, whichever one was used the most. So that is what mode is all about. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm going to click on run, and I'm going to say run selected. Right, so it's going to take a few seconds to run. Okay, cool, fantastic. So let's visualize our data set to see if it's doing exactly what we want it to. So I click on visualize. Okay, let's first up click on gender. It had a couple missing values. You can see there's no missing values in this data set now once we've cleaned it. So we can do that for married, dependents, self-employed. You can see all of them have no missing values anymore. And then the last one, which is credit history, no missing values. Okay, cool. We've grouped this under the string values. Let's go on to numerical. So we're now going to clean the numerical values separately. Okay, cool. Fantastic. Okay, great. Launch our column selector. And now we're going to pull in our loan amount and loan term, right? And the cleaning mode, what we're going to use instead of the mode, we're going to use mean, which is basically the average of all those columns. So that's cool. I'm happy with that. And we're going to say run selected. Okay, great. Let's once again visualize it just to make sure it's doing exactly what we want it to. Loan amount now has 0 missing values, and loan term also has 0 missing values. So fantastic. The cleaning worked as it's supposed to. I'm just highlighting this just to create more space at the top. Maybe I should just compress it a little bit like that. Okay, so the next thing what we're going to do is we're going to start preparing our data for the machine learning, the machine learning algorithm to run. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to search for something that says select columns in dataset, and I'm going to connect it. Right, it gives you that error because you need to select your columns in dataset. I'm going to launch my column select on the right hand side, and think about this, right? So well, maybe take a step back. Let's have a look at our dataset before we select our columns. So in our data set, we have loan ID, gender, married, dependents, applicant income, credit history, property, and loan status. Now, there's a bunch of information that's really, really important, but let's think about it. Will loan ID have some sort of a significance when predicting the outcome or whether an applicant should be given a loan or not. Highly unlikely, because it does not give you any sort of property that that has some significance. It's not going to be it's not for example, it's not telling you like maybe if a couple is married, yes, there's two incomes, there's a higher probability of you getting a loan because obviously there's two incomes coming through. Whereas loan ID, it doesn't have any type of significance. It's just a unique identifier. So I think let's add in all the rest of the columns, but let's exclude loan ID because it's not really adding any value, right? So I'm going to click on select columns in dataset, launch column selector, and I'm going to choose everything except the loan ID, right? So cool. We're going to run our data set once again. It'll take a few seconds to run. Fantastic, great stuff. So let's visualize it just to make sure it's doing what we want it to. Okay, fantastic. So you can see loan ID is now being excluded from this data set because we don't want it to be used in the training of the model. Okay, good. The next part, this is where we start delving into the machine learning components of this this demo, right? So we can start splitting our data, right? So let's split our data. Let's add in the split data module. We're going to connect select columns to the split data, and we're going to click on it. And where it says 0.5, that basically means 50% will be used for 1, which is training, and the other 50% will be used for 2, which is testing. I want to make this a little bit higher, right? I want to use 70% of my data to train and 30% of the data to test, right? So what does that actually mean? So let's visualize once again, just to show you what I mean. Okay, so there's 614 rows within our within our data set, and we're going to use 70% of that 614 to train our model on, and then 30% to test on, right? So that's what it basically means. So let's go back in there. We're going to use 0.7. We're going to make it random split. For now, we're just gonna have the random seed as 1, 2, 3. We'll explain this in a later video, and stratified split as true. Now, let's have a look at which column we're going to use to train our model on. So it's going to be loan status, because loan status has a two-class variable, which is either yes or no. Cool, great stuff. We added that in there, and now let's run. Cool, it's going to take a second or two. Let me just neaten this up while it's running. Okay, fantastic, it's great. It's done. Okay, so you can see this is result dataset 1 and result dataset 2. So let's have a look at the first one, and then we can go look at the second one as well. Okay, there's 429 rows. So that represents 70% of the data set. And if we look at dataset 2, it should be less, 100 and something, okay, 185. So that represents 30% of the data set. Fantastic. Okay, we're getting one step closer to having our machine learning model built, right? So let me neaten this up a little bit more. I'm just going to select all of them. Oh, there we go. And I'm going to just move it to the side there. All right, so let's bring in our machine learning algorithm. So we're going to use a logistic regression model. So there's multi-class and there's two-class, right? So two-class is because we have, are you going to get approved or rejected for your loan? So it's two-class. If it's multi-class, more than 2, then obviously we can use the multi-class logistic regression. So we're going to pull it in, two-class. And what we're going to do is we're also going to pull in the train model feature because this is what's going to be used to actually train our model, right? So we're going to connect our two-class logistic regression to our train model. Our split data is going to go to the second input on the train model. And then what we're going to do is we're going to click in there. We're going to launch our column selector. Once again, we're going to choose loan status because this is going to be used to predict whether the applicant is successful in getting the loan or not, we then going to pull in something called score model, right? So we're going to pull in the score model, and we're going to connect the training part to the score model. And then under the split data, this is the testing component. We're also going to connect it to the score model. Now let's run this whole model just to make sure that everything is working as expected. We want to make sure that there's no breakages in this model. So yeah, that's why it's a good thing at the last step where you say score model, it runs everything. Okay, cool. It should take another second or two. Let me just neaten up a little bit more. Make some space. Okay, good stuff. It has run successfully, right? So now let's have a look at our scored data set. Let's visualize it. Okay, if we scroll to the end, you can see there's two new columns that have been added, right? They scored labels and they scored probabilities. So it's based on the data. Obviously, as I mentioned, this is a fictitious data set, and the more data that you input, the more accurate your model will be, right? So it looks at your loan status. Okay, this person was approved based on your data that it trained on. The scored label also predicted they did get a loan, and the probability of them getting that loan was 0.86. So your probability will be from 0 to 1, right? So it's a high probability. Yes, yes, and then we get an anomaly here. We have no, yes, but it's a high score probability. But let's try to understand how our model is actually doing, because you can see there's some anomalies in here. No, yes, no, yes. But let's have a look at the statistics just to see if our model is performing correctly, right? So I'm going to bring in something called evaluate model. I'm going to bring it in there, and I'm going to connect my score model to my evaluate model, right? I'm going to run it. It should take a second or two to run. Okay, cool. It's busy running. Great stuff. It's successful. So let's evaluate these results. So I'm going to click on evaluate results and visualize. All right, fantastic. So this gives us the statistics about our model and how it has been trained. So as you can see, this is the confusion matrix over here. And immediately I can see that my accuracy is pretty high, my precision as well. And if you want to look at one single value that looks at the performance, you can look at the F1 score, right? So the F1 score is very, very high. So it shows that even though that we did pick up a couple anomalies at the top, overall, our training, our model is actually pretty accurate. And you can see our area under the curve is also pretty high. So that's good. So we're happy with that, right? So we're happy that our model is working as it should. Now, what we're going to do is we are going to we're going to run everything once again, because we want to run it from the beginning till the end. And we're going to get to the fun part, which is consuming of the actual model. Okay, fantastic. It has run successfully. Now we're going to set up our web service. So if we click on the setup web service at the bottom, we'll click on the predict web service. And what it's doing is it's busy creating that web service for us. So it automatically goes and does the transformation. So we don't have to. Okay, before we deploy it, let's run it. Let's have a look at this here. So in our score model, we see that, okay, well, let's run it first. Let's run it first just so you can see exactly what this is doing, right? Why is it? Okay. Copy. Okay, no, that's fine. Let's run this from the start. So it's going to run the whole model once again. I just want to show you exactly what I mean here, because when you're looking at machine learning experiment, there's only specific fields that you want to get, that you want to look at as your output. You don't want to perhaps look at everything being regenerated again, even though it wouldn't be too much of harm to have that, but let's try to have it where we only want to see the two fields as the output. Okay, fantastic. It ran successfully, sorry. Okay, let's have a look at this. Okay, so there's, once again, as you can see, there's a whole lot of fields in this data set, but we only interested in the scored labels and the score probabilities, right? So in order for us to have a look at that, what we're going to do is we're going to delete that linkage, and we're going to we're going to add in the select columns in data set. So we can add that in there. We're going to connect score model there, and let's just add scored labels and scored probabilities. Great stuff. Let's run it again. Should take a minute or so to run. It's busy running. Cool, fantastic, it's quick. All right, so let's visualize these results so I can show you exactly what I'm talking about. So as I mentioned, we don't want to see all the rest of the columns when we're getting our output. We just want to see score labels and score probabilities. That's it, right? Nothing else. Great stuff. So let's now deploy our web service. I'm going to click on deploy. It's going to run, and it's going to do whatever it needs to do in the background. It's taking care of itself. Great stuff. Okay, fantastic. So we have our model now being registered and published, right? So you have an API key where you can actually use it if you want to go and create your own web service, and you want to go and create something custom. You can use this API key to do that, to communicate with the model, or you can download these Excel template files, so you can then just upload your data in batch or do it one by one, and you can score it, right? So if you're testing it, you can click on test. Over here, you can have your inputs. So right now, if you want to score someone, you can put in a loan ID, put in their gender, married, whatever it is, and then click on OK, click on the screen, this tick over here, and it'll tell you whether that person will be eligible for a loan, yes or no. So we're going to click on the new web service experience at the top over here. So I'm going to click over it, on it over there, and it's going to take us to a page where it shows us a quick start. Just if you want to get quickly up and running and test your endpoint, it shows you how to do that. It shows you how to configure it. If you want to have a look at the statistics to manage and monitor your endpoint and how it's been used, you can have a look at that as well. You can get some, you can click on the configure to get the endpoints, the keys, so you can then use it in your web applications, or you want to do something custom with it. But what we're going to do is we want to test this, right? So I'm going to click on test. I generate it automatically generates some random data for us. But what we want to do is maybe just change this here, because based on our couple who was trying to get a home loan, we want to try to predict their position. So we're just going to say married, yes, and we're going to click on test. So based on the data, it shows that the couple is eligible to get a home loan, and it's a high probability. So it's essentially 78%, 79% probability that they should be getting a home loan. So this is a simple way to show you how machine learning can be used to create, for example, a home loan auto scoring model. So instead of having people wait maybe 2 or 3 days, if they have all the information available, you can input into the system and immediately get a result. So I hope you enjoyed this demo, and I look forward to seeing you in the upcoming machine learning demos. Thank you so much.